Ladies and gents, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, then welcome to it. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Yash, and of course, the main purpose of this channel is to not only document my journey in the e-commerce and dropshipping space, but to more so provide information and value to you guys. Therefore, I wanted to do something a little bit different for this video, and with that being said, I'll be inviting one of my very close friends in the e-commerce space, Kamil, also known as the Ecom King on YouTube. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with his content, quite frankly. So I invited him for a little Q&A session for you guys to not only do your best during Q4, but also onwards for your Shopify dropshipping stores. So with that being said, enjoy the Q&A. There is a lot of information, value, golden nuggets, and tips to be taken away from this video. So definitely be tuned throughout the entire video. And with that being said, make sure you guys do drop a like on this video. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel with that post notification bell turned on so you guys are updated with all recent and new videos. And with that being said, let's tune into the Q&A with the Ecom King.
Finally!
Kamil, I'm super excited to have you on the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. In the small chance the audience does not know who you are, feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself before we do get into the Q&A today.
Thanks so much, Josh, for having me on the channel today. It's amazing to be back once again. And for those that don't know who I am, my name is Kamil Sattar. I'm also known as the Ecom King, and I've been doing e-commerce and dropshipping for the last 4 years. And yeah, now I'm here.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, I think you were last on the channel about 1.5 years ago. So yeah, pleasure to have you back again, man. Super excited.
Last time I was on the channel, we were on, I think, 20,000 subscribers.
Yeah, quite a while. And again, congrats on your growth on YouTube again, man. Super cool.
Really appreciate it, brother. I wish you the best as well.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Yeah, so with that being said, again, guys, it's going to be just an open Q&A, not a lot of cuts and edits and whatnot. We just really want to provide you with the most insight as possible, especially Kamil. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get into the first question. So the first question is, what overall trends have you seen throughout the year in the dropshipping and the e-commerce space? And, based off of that, where do you plan on doubling down, whether it comes to platforms, types of creatives, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so let's start with platforms that advertise. So I see a lot of trends shifting now to TikTok. I think if you go on YouTube, you'll see a lot of people now talking about TikTok ads. That's the one thing. Now, in terms of content, I think even on other channels like Facebook and Instagram, I think UGC content, user-generated content, is doing really well at the moment. And that's what I'm personally spending the majority of my time and money on when it comes to creative content. And other things that I've seen is with Facebook ads. I know that interest targeting is now the most powerful option on that platform. It used to be LLAs and retargeting, but now it's interest targeting and doing things like stacked interest. I never used to do stacked interest before, but now I'm starting to do them because they tend to work really well. And I would say those are the biggest changes that I've seen so far.
Absolutely, yeah. I think TikTok is super powerful. I've heard a lot of people say, and even from my experience, like TikTok is, at least what TikTok is now is what kind of Facebook used to be a few years ago. I know it's still a very naive platform. It's still developing, but I've had some experience with TikTok ads. I've been doing a lot of organic TikTok content and whatnot too. And it is super powerful. And I think UGC is the #1 main thing on the platform, to really make sure that the content is as naive, or not naive, but as native as possible, to the platform as much as possible. So yeah, pretty cool stuff, and I'm excited to see where the platform goes in the next few years. Awesome, man. So speaking of Q4, since the time of recording this, and maybe most of you guys are watching this, is during Q4, what are the best niches, if any, to sell products in during Q4?
So during Q4, my strategy is I look to be in niches that I can put into Q1, so things like Valentine's Day, because What I don't like is I don't like doing Q4 and then at a harsh deadline, I've got to make sure that all my deliveries are done and all so forth. So I like to make sure that I'm able to give myself more time by selling in an industry, in a niche where I can overlap into Q1. So that those are niches like your jewelry niches, your gift niches, anything that can tie in with Valentine's Day is amazing. Things like pictures, so like, you know, those 3D cutout lamps, things like that do really, really well. In terms of just Q4 on its own, you're looking at kids' toys, you're looking at beauty products, you're looking at fashion. Fashion does really, really well. And those are my go-to, in tech as well as another one, but those are my main go-tos.
Awesome. How about like fitness, wellness, gym products? Do you tap into any of those at all?
Yeah, so those are really, really good. The only thing is I just find that those are like the most saturated niche, in my opinion, during that time.
I agree.
I think something that we do is we tap into that industry just after Christmas. So not during Q4, well, not during the main Q4 hype, but just after Christmas, then we start running ads straight into it. And we start doing these ads for New Year's resolutions. So we run these creatives just designed for that.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. You definitely want to think long term. A lot of people just, again, have Q4 in mind, but then, it turns out you come to a hard deadline because you didn't really plan in advance for Q1. So yeah, definitely think of longevity. I like to sell evergreen products, stuff that can potentially sell even after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, and whatnot. So yeah, definitely on point with that.
Bro, you've got a hot Q4 product in the back of your screen just there in the corner, bro.
Right there, the lamp, man. Exactly. You need to have those eyes. But yeah, kind of speaking about products, that kind of leads me or piggybacks onto the next question. Store types, right? I see a lot of beginners especially wonder what types of stores are the best. So, general niche, one product. What do you really focus on? What do your clients really focus on and have seen the most success with?
So we always do either a one product store or a niche store. And then what we do is with the one product store is we start with literally just one product. And then if it does pretty well, we'll add some upsells onto the product page as well. And then we'll start slowly scaling that one product store into a niche store. But if we're super confident on the product, we'll just put it straight into a niche store straight away.
Okay. Yeah. Similarly, what I do, niche or one product, I do like general one product stores or sometimes hybrid stores. So I can test multiple products, yet it still comes off as a one product store. So awesome. And then kind of really, really quickly talking about stores and whatnot, staying on that topic, what would you think like the top 3 helpful Shopify apps are, or like the most helpful Shopify apps are, in your opinion?
So I would say number one, you want things like in my opinion, email marketing and SMS marketing are 2 apps that I just personally can't live without at the moment. So I must have them in my store. And the reason why is because retargeting on social media now has been hit hard because of iOS 14. So the only real way to get the real results is with those traditional ways of retargeting, email marketing, SMS. Other apps that I can't live without personally, and this is just in my own case, is profit apps. So I use an app called Be Profit. I always need to know how much money, tracking profits. That's another app that I just can't live without. Now, a really good app, and I don't actually personally use this myself, but I know a lot of beginners will find it very helpful, is called Vitals. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. It's like 50 apps into one. That can be a really good app as well.
Yeah. Spot on. I think backend systems, email, SMS, all that's super important. So that's definitely something you want to focus from the get-go. Like half of these Shopify stores I audit or calls I hop on, they don't really have any abandonment cart email sequences set up. And that's like the first stage of email marketing, kind of reeling those people back in who didn't end up purchasing off of your store. So yeah, definitely spot on with that, man. Kind of also talking about stores and apps and products, what kind of product descriptions work the best? Long form, short form, a lot of bold words, a lot of bold phrases, different fonts, different colors. What have you seen to convert the best?
Okay, so what we're doing now that we find works the best for all genres and all ages, not more specific, is you have short paragraphs, and in between them you'll have a Giphy, or you could have an image, and then in that small paragraph, if it's a key point talking about a key specific specification, have the key specification in bold writing, and then have the rest of the 3 to 4 lines in just normal text. And then, so I like to put videos at the top of my product descriptions. I like to have a nice video at the top, which is between 1 and 2 minutes long, and then I just have very short descriptions, nothing too crazy. But I do have very big FAQ pages, so I've got FAQ pages on my sites now where that's more context than the actual description is, because I find that's what people are actually looking for, FAQ, not description.
I agree, especially for certain products people just want to be educated about. A lot of times people don't buy products, even they might consider to, because they're uneducated, right? Like they want to know something about the product, but they're unsure, or they're uneasy, or they're not just certain in general. So I definitely agree with Cam. Having an FAQ page, especially if it's a product that needs a lot of unfolding or demonstration or education behind it. So yeah, that's absolutely awesome. And I think GIFs and images also play a huge part, also in just breaking up the text, right? Like you don't want to have loads and loads and loads of text. No one wants to read that. Especially people who are elder, it can be strainful on people's eyes and whatnot. So kind of want to consider it from all angles. So with that being said, moving on, how many products should you test per week, especially for Q4, considering the bidding wars are very high, the competition is very high. And this is just solely talking about Facebook, right? And what budget do you allocate per test? Like how much money do you spend? And you know whether it's worth killing that product or scaling that product, or potentially trying to scale that product.
Yeah, absolutely amazing question. Now, I always say you want to start with around about $1,500, $1,500, and you want to be topping that up every month with around about $300 to $500 during Q4. The more, the better, but don't be ridiculously stupid with the money. Now, in terms of how many products you should be testing, depends on your budget. Now, how I do the math behind this is I like to spend between $300 and $500 validating a product. So I run ads on them on Facebook, TikTok, you name it, and I associate that amount of money to that product. Now, depending on the metrics, depending on what I'm doing, for example, if I'm not breaking even, or if I'm not seeing a slight amount of profit, I tend to kill the product after $300 to $500. Now, if you do that math equation, if you divide that by the budget you're starting with, that will tell you how many you could potentially test within 1 week. But now I also want to say, if you're a beginner, don't overdo too much testing in 1 week, because you might burn yourself out and you might make some rookie mistakes. When I used to start back in the day, I used to test products aggressively, but I would make a lot of mistakes in the ads manager by rushing. So do bear those couple of things in mind.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great advice. Another thing I just add on is don't be too emotionally attached to a product. I did this before. A lot of people just want to make something work and they keep dumping money into it, let alone not having a proper strategy or game plan. And they end up having a bunch of missing leaks in their copy, creative, angle, offer. So again, really, really learn the skills first, because your ads or your marketing can only work so well, right? Like you have to make sure there's no other missing leaks on your landing page, so on and so forth. So just kind of wanted to add that on. Now, speaking about ads and being on the topic of ads, I know this has become very notorious per se over the last year. Bans, right? Ad account bans, page bans, business manager bans, profile bans. Any solutions? Do you have backups, agency accounts? How do you really go ahead and deal with that?
Biggest tip I can give to anybody is invest in an agency account or get one made yourself. Now, they're not easy to get. Sometimes you have to get them. You have to pay for them, but it depends how willing you are to do this. Like if you're sold to this and you know that you want to make this your all, then you'd have to invest in an agency account, because with agency accounts you get away with more. They let you do things that you're not normally allowed to do on a normal account. So that's normally the best. If that's not an option for you, then the only thing you can do is make sure you verified your BM, verified your domain name, do all those things. Follow the policies very strictly as well. And warm up the account slowly. Don't go crazy and spend loads of money because you're banned straight away. So those are really the only things you can do nowadays. Like, it's inevitable. You're going to get banned, Wow, not long term, sometimes long term, but you are going to see little bans on the way.
Yeah, spot on. I think, yeah, that's pretty much spot on. It's almost inevitable. Sometimes the system just flags your account. A lot of the times they'll just ask for like ID verification. In that case, just do it. If you have Facebook chat, that's awesome. You know, you've hit gold because not many people do have that. So have backups, like Cam said, and follow their policies, understand their rules and their terms and what they're really saying. So speaking about products, and I want to talk a little bit about fulfilling and sourcing. Who do you utilize? Assuming one is still a beginner, potentially not at our level, who have access to 3PLs, warehouses, private shipping agents over in China. What do you recommend people who are just testing products, maybe getting a few sales a month to utilize, especially during Q4, because people are purchasing a lot of items for Christmas, so they want it on time.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys quite a big breakdown on this topic because it's quite an in-depth one and there's so much about it and there's so much around it that you guys need to understand. So the first thing is, if you're not using an agent or a fulfillment center or buying in bulk, the God's honest truth is no one's perfect. Not one company is perfect. One company has issues and the other one does, because that's just the business model itself isn't 100% spotless. So there's always going to be cracks on the you use. So the people that I use now, I still use AliExpress in certain times. So the reason why I still use AliExpress is because a lot of these alternatives don't have all the products. They only have a small range. Now, I'll only use AliExpress if they have the 10-day delivery option. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Now, AliExpress offer 10-day delivery option, not on all products, but on some. Or if the AliExpress supplier is shipping from the US, but do bear in mind if they're doing that, then they can only send to the US. They're the only two options I'd use AliExpress. And you always want to make sure that when you see those options, you ask the supplier if they are reliable. Now, if that isn't a possibility, then I'll work with companies like CJ Dropshipping, WeO, Hyper SKU. Now, again, they're not perfect, but they are better than AliExpress in most cases, but still, they're not perfect. I've still heard people say, well, I've worked with CJ, it's been not amazing. I've worked with WeO, it's not amazing. But again, unless you get out of that business model where you're working with, when you need to start working with an agent, then there's going to be issues no matter what. So now, but if you're able to scale and you're getting 10 to 15 orders a day consistently, then we started using this company, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I've just used them on my own case. It's called Ecom Ops or Ecom Mops, one of those words. Another big YouTuber that used them was Gabriel Saint Germain. He used them as well. We used them on a store last month, and we did branding through them, agent use through them, and it's been working really, really well.
Oh, that's cool. So they actually offer like white labeling, custom packaging, box inserts, all that stuff.
Everything in-house, yeah.
This is really big also, and I think it's a big concern for a lot of people. Does saturation exist, especially during Q4? What do you view saturation as, and what do you kind of implement to beat out that competition?
So I call saturation, doesn't matter what time of the year it is, but especially Q4, I call it noob saturation. So what happens is you get lots of noobs that will come in and think, well, for Q4, everybody's gonna make lots of money. They'll sell the same products in the same format. Now, it doesn't matter if you're selling a product that everybody else is selling, but have a different approach on selling it, whether it be use a different marketing platform, use a different marketing angle, do something different. Don't just do what everybody else is doing. So just try not to be a noob. Well, the best thing you can do is try not to sell the product that everybody else is selling, but during Q4, it's going to be hard not to do that. But just try and find ways to make you different and stand out from the competitors. And like I said, whether it be using a different advertising platform, whether it be using a different advertising strategy in terms of how you're compelling yourself to the customer, anything like that works, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people try to sell products that they have to like, and that's not always the case. Sometimes, you have to go ahead and be open-minded, right? You have to be flexible. Just because you don't like a product necessarily doesn't mean it's not going to work. For example, a simple analogy, it's like when you're going to a mall, you'll see a bunch of these brick and mortar stores, and half of them, you're probably like, wait, what? I don't even know why there's people going to that. There's probably products in there that you don't like or that you've never heard of, but obviously there's a market for that product. So the same thing when it comes to drop shipping, if that makes sense. And then kind of what you touched upon, like marketing angle, I saw this product that 5 or 6 people were scaling about 2 months ago, and it was a gate. Now, how these people were selling the product was the gate was meant to keep pets out, right? That's what the actual gate was meant to do. But I saw this other store scaling it, and I saw, they had thousands and thousands of comments. Their engagement was through the roof. And it's because they were outbidding a lot of these competitors, because the way they were marketing it was to keep children out, like more so of like a play area for children where it's like nice and secure and parents don't have to worry for their kids or their toddlers wandering out around the house and stuff. So just a little switch of an angle can really make all the difference. Those 5 people were selling it to pet owners, and that one person was selling it to parents who have kids and toddlers. But the product served the same function. So just like Cam said, try a new platform. And if you're not comfortable trying a new platform, at least try a different marketing angle. So now really quick, I know this is in depth, or it can be in depth, but just briefly on the top, what does your Facebook ads launch and testing strategy look like, just on the surface in terms of its setup?
So my Facebook ad strategy template is, we start with a Facebook ABO strategy. So it's an ad set budget optimization. Now we do one ad set, and so we do multiple ad sets, but within this one ad set, we're going to be doing a potential reach between 10 and 100, and it can go up to 500 if you have to, million people in terms you can reach. Now we're doing e-packet countries as well, minus Mexico, Italy, and Brazil, because we find that when we start to those countries, we do get a lot of fraudulent charges. And then in terms of placements, we like to do Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds, and stories for both platforms. Now, we also like to do age between 21 and 65. And we also like to make sure we're doing English all as well under the options. Right. And then in terms of the budget, depending on the price of the product, I like to sell my products on ABOs normally between $5 and $15. So if your product's more on the higher end, let's say $70, try $15. If you're in the middle range, do 10. Lower range, do 5. Yeah. And again, I would recommend you test this out. If you're not getting great results, just adjust the budget slightly, see if that fixes it. Then once we've done that, and again, in terms of the interest, we do one interest per ad set to start with. And again, we want it to reach between 100 and 500 million, well, 10 to 500 million max. And if you're struggling to get those reaches, then expand the interest if you need to. That can help out. Now, in terms of the ad level, we like to do 4 ads under one ad set. So one ad set, 4 ads. And the 4 ads are going to have a different video or a different image, totally different creative per ad. That's the whole thing. Make it completely different. So one ad could be a UGC content, one could be a normal content, one could be picture, one could be carousel. That could be an example. Then we like to do around about 10 ad sets, and we duplicate the one ad set 9 times. That gives us 10, and we're only changing the interest per ad set. We launch it and we're good to go. Interesting.
Awesome. Just really quickly, how do you deal with iOS 14 tracking? Like, do you use ClickMagick, any UTMs, GTMs? Do you incorporate anything? Because I know some ad accounts and some audiences, people don't really have issues. Maybe they'll miss like 10 or 20% of sales, but I've seen people miss like 80, 90% of sales sometimes, as ridiculous as that sounds. So how do you kind of go around that?
So you can use apps. You've mentioned a few. You got Trackify. You got things like Third Pixel. But these are some other things that you can do manually, where you don't need an app, and it can still slightly improve the tracking. Number 1, domain verification. Number 2, setting up aggregated events manager. Number 3, setting up conversion APIs. Number 4, set up Trackify for tracking events.
Yep.
Number 6, set up UTM parameters at the ad set level to add an extra layer of tracking. Number 7, also upload offline events from Shopify to Facebook, because this way, what it will do is it will actually make it accurate. So if you don't set up offline events, then what will happen is Facebook will say an ad set's got a sale, but it doesn't actually have a sale. So when you do the offline to online, it will pull off the Shopify store sales and put them on the ads manager, and then it'll tell you which ones actually got the sale.
Okay. There you guys go. That's how you go ahead and fix the tracking with iOS 14, because I know it's a problem that a lot of people have been dealing with. That's awesome. I think this is big just overall, not only for Q4, but I think just as an entrepreneur for any business venture, right? How do you stay productive and laser focused to really maximize your outcome and results? Because I know working for 8 or 9 hours a day or 10 hours a day is really different than being laser focused and doing pure focus work for just 3, 4 hours a day. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've had issues with this my whole journey. I've had times where, like, certain years I do more work than others, certain months I do more work than others, but it's just getting into a good routine. Wake up consistently at the same. You've got to turn your body into a robot, specifically like waking up at a certain time every day. It doesn't even matter if it's the weekend, you should still do it. Go for a morning walk. I always find going for a walk helps clear my mind. And then get yourself what we call work blocks set up. So you want to start with your hardest tasks first, because at the start of the day, you've got the most energy. So if you start with the hardest first, you're going to be able to crank it out, and then slowly go through the hardest tasks, the least hardest, and also set up work blocks. So at 9 a.m. in the morning, I'm going to do 1 hour of email work block. Then do a 15-minute break or a 25-minute break. Then after that, do another work block, but then get them a little bit more tougher. Go from 1 hour to 2 hours. And then after that work block, go from 2 to 3. And then after you peaked, I don't recommend doing more than 3 hours within a work block. It will kill you. And then after the 3 hour work block, then slow down. Go from 3 hours to 2.5, or 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, and slowly tune down the work blocks till the end of the day. That's how I find personally works best for me.
Yeah, I think it's all discipline, right? That's what it really all comes down to. And work blocks, I'm really glad you brought that up because it's super helpful. I like to plan not my weeks. I'll be lying if I said I plan weeks in advance, maybe for certain things, but usually I plan my days in advance, and work blocks are super important because they kind of hold you accountable. Not only are you organized, but the accountability factor is there, right? I always say that integrity is doing the right thing or doing what you're supposed to do when no one's really watching. So I think all of that's super, super helpful. It all comes to trial and error. People learn in different ways, in different environments. People have different levels of focus. People have different levels of grasping things. So I think it's all just trial and error. But like Cam said, it comes down to being disciplined, comes down to really having your time management on point. Last but not least, last question of this Q&A. What is your outlook on e-commerce and dropshipping in 2022? Where do you see yourself within a few years from now? Anything that you're going to start focusing on more? And then last but not least, you can leave any wise words of wisdom or whatnot, especially for all the young and aspiring entrepreneurs or e-commerce entrepreneurs watching this.
Yeah, so what I'd say is for myself, so in terms of dropshipping next year, where do I see it going? More down the entry to level is again going to get harder. Like, you're going to have to start private labeling within the first 2 weeks of you starting a store if it goes well, instead of spending months, So that's going to be the next big thing. Again, other barriers to entry, setting up companies from the get-go, getting certain company documents made and bank accounts done and all that kind of stuff, because unless you can't register on these on these ad accounts unless you've got all this information, that's going to be another thing. And then in terms of content as well, I think the whole content in terms of how you're producing your product to the world is going to change drastically. You got artificial reality, virtual reality, that's going to make a lot of difference as well. That's going to cause a massive, I think from 2022 to 2025, we're going to see this massive virtual reality world come from that time till that time, and then that will be the standard, and I think we'll slowly see it coming through. And I just genuinely think the way we conduct ourselves as dropshippers is going to drastically change. And I think the time frame of being a dropshipper is going to die out. In terms of dropshipping is not going to die out, but how long you should be a dropshipper for will die out in terms of when you should move on to private labeling, buying in bulk. That kind of stuff will shorten down. Now, in terms of where I see my future down the road, I'm just focusing now more on building brands, because that's where the long-term longevity is, and that's how you build your assets. And in terms of advice and tips that I've got for everybody is, as soon as you've got a product that's doing well, don't wait on the sidelines. Just don't be shy to go all in, because that's the biggest mistake that I make on anything I do in my life. Is I see a little bit of success and I hesitate, and I need to be more accurate and more deadly with my attack when something's doing really, really well. And I'd also say to people that if you're making money, don't leave it in the bank. Maybe invest it, whether it be investing it into an investment or investing it into another store, whatever. Just don't leave money in the bank. It's just no good being.
That's awesome, bro. That's all super spot on, super helpful. I think one thing I'll add is try not to be complacent. You know, just because you found some success, you found a winner or two, don't be complacent. Like, always put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Get comfortable in being uncomfortable. I think that's what I would say, if you agree. So yeah, man, with that being said, I think this was a great Q&A. I appreciate you hopping on. I'll be leaving all of your socials and your YouTube in the description down below. So definitely feel free to check out Cam if you guys haven't already. And yeah, man, if there's anything else you'd like to add on, go for it.
Thank you so much for having me on board today, brother. Really do appreciate it. And we should catch up again in 2022.
Absolutely, man. And there you guys have it. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like I said, feel free to check out Kamil's channel and his social medias down in the description below. Also, if you guys do have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, then feel free to drop them in the comments down below, because I do reply to each and every single one of them. Furthermore, feel free to check out all the links and resources in the description down below, as they can and will be very helpful for your Shopify dropshipping store. Once again, ladies and gents, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to keep working hard, and more importantly, continue being awesome. Until the next one, your boy is out. Peace.